and we will convene the 11 o'clock special meeting. So, Barbara, if you could take roll for the 11 o'clock special meeting.
Okay, we have Commissioners Berard, Fleming, Levine, and Funderburk present.
Okay, we will move directly to the approval of the RPS item. I can't find which agenda item this is.
This is on the special 11 o'clock, and I do have a speaker card for item 1, which is public comments, and item 2.
Separate agenda.
No.
Okay. Binder 2. Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you. Got it. Okay, we have a speaker card for the Renewable Portfolio Standard Policy and Enforcement Program.
Yes, the speaker for item 1, public comment, is Dr. Tom Williams.
Which item again? Is it?
Renewable Power Standard.
Okay, renewable. Okay. Okay, so. Forget it.
Okay, I guess there is no comment for item 1 on the special 11 o'clock agenda. And I believe the ratepayer advocate might have comments for item 2.
Just one moment.
Special meeting? Item 2? Yes. So did you want to do those
Okay,
now?
item 2, resolution approving the City of Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Renewables Portfolio Standard Policy and Enforcement Program. Does the ratepayer advocate have comments on this item?
I believe so.
Do you have a formal presentation on this? After your presentation.
Ratepayer advocate defers. Welcome, Mr. Pickle.
Yes,
it's very
welcome.
nice to see you. You look very healthy. Gentlemen.
My name is Michael Webster. I am Assistant Director of our Power System Planning and Development. I'm primarily responsible for our integrated resource planning and all of our renewables programs. And we thought it'd be helpful today, since this is our RPS policy and enforcement program, to take a step back and talk a little bit about our renewables program and give you some history and some basis so you can put this in context with that. And so we have a long history with renewables. It's listed in your board package, but what I wanted to do is highlight a couple of things for you. Is that we've had a policy since 2004 with the passage of the City Council requiring a 20% RPS, and we embodied that in our own LEDWP policy in 2005, and we've been doing updates since then. We had an update in 2007 and 2008. And then the passage of SB 21X came along, and in 2011 we actually updated the policy again to be consistent. And so today before you is another update of the policy, because since SB 21X was passed, the California Energy Commission implemented regulations to implement SB 2, and what this RPS policy does is comes in conformance with those CEC regulations. Now, originally, the target that we had was 20% by 2010, and averages 20% between 2011 and 2013. We hit that. We are in the process of filing those reports as we speak. Then in 2016, we had to hit 25%, and then in 2020, 33%. This is what SB 21X passed. But with the passage of the implementing regulations is that there was a slight change. And this slide shows you that change and what the changes we're going to be making today to the policy. So today what they've done is they've said that between 2017 and 2020 there's these interim targets. So instead of being at 25 and then moving to 33, we have to hit 27% in 2017, 29% in 2018, 31% in 2019, and then 33%. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to actually hit 27% in that year. What it does do is it gives us the ability to hit the total quantity of megawatt hours in this compliance period. So for 26.5% in 2017, we better be 29.5% in 2018. So that is one of the changes in the regulations that we needed to move forward with. So I'm going to skip a couple slides because I think that this one ties in. So not only do we have RPS targets, so I moved to slide 6 on you, is that we have the targets, but within each target, the CEC is specified, and SBX 21X, they've also specified which type of delivery mechanisms are important. So in very simplistic terms, there's 3 portfolio content categories. Some people call them buckets. But PCC1 is basically anything that is renewable that's in the state or delivers to an in-state balancing authority. So that's a very important number for us because we need to be 75% bucket 1 by the time we hit 2020. Then there's PCC2. PC2 is a little bit different. It's typically out-of-state renewables. They're not connected to a California balancing authority like us or CAISO. And the delivery of the energy is disconnected a bit with when the renewables were actually produced. It's called firming and shaping. The firming part is that, for example, in the Pacific Northwest, there are other plants that are ramping up and down in order to keep those schedules firm. So as the renewables go up, these plants ramp down. The renewables ramp down, these other plants ramp up. Typically that's backed up by non-green energy. That's a firming service. It's something that has to happen. So it's a special sort of delivery. We can't count that firm service as green. The second thing is that sometimes there's a delivery change. So for example, it produces in February, but you have it delivered in March in sort of a very standard 25 megawatts round-the-clock delivery schedule. That's PCC2, and there's a limit to how much PCC2 that you can have on your system. And then the third category, PCC3, there's no connection to energy delivery. These are unattached renewable energy credits. Very, very important for truing up your portfolio. So as we get to the end of the year, we lose our ability to actually schedule the energy in sufficient quantities, but you can pick up a REC to firm up your portfolio. And only 10% is allowed for RECs. So not only do we have the targets, but we also have to fit those targets into these portfolio content categories. And one of the things that's very important for today is that, as you can see, we're trying to predict to the best possible how much renewables we need. But it's certainly possible as we move through this, we could have a little extra PCC1 or a little extra PCC3 as we get through our compliance period. So what we'd like to be able to do is take that extra, if there should be in these various buckets or portfolio content categories, and move them to the next compliance period. So approval of today's RPS policy allows that to happen. So if it's approved by the end of the year, you are allowed to then start carrying over renewables from one compliance period to the next compliance period. So a little bit of history on our renewables program. To date, we have implemented several types of renewables. We have about 600 megawatts of wind in the Pacific Northwest. We have about 300 megawatts of wind near our Intermountain Power Project at Milford County in Utah. We have wind in the Tehachapi's. We also have some solar projects starting to be deployed. We've just deployed our first geothermal project, which is going online, which we believe next week. We have our aqueduct small hydro plants that we count in our portfolio. And we also have digester gas, which comes from our Hyperion project, the City of Los Angeles Hyperion project, but also landfill gas, which we bring into our system, and we actually use landfill gas in our existing generating units, whereby our existing generating units, as it backs up renewables, we're using landfill gas to back those other renewable types up. And so one of the important things about our policy is that the board retains jurisdiction to approve the types of technologies. So our policy makes it very, very clear to the CEC that this board, over the course of the years since 2004, has approved various technologies which we will continue to count in our portfolio. So that includes all of the technologies that this board has approved in the past. And so the policy memorializes all of those technologies so that when we communicate with the CEC, it's very clear to them these actually count in full for our compliance strategy. And this is a map that tells you a little bit about where, I'm sorry, the map is not yet. This talks a little bit about our procurement strategy, is that every time we go forward with a renewables project, we fit it into the integrated resource plan. And the integrated resource plan helps us define how we make our decisions. So we want to have projects that have the best value to DWP's system. That's a very important criteria. We also want to use city properties to the greatest extent possible, and we also want to utilize local energy whenever possible. But in addition to that, we're trying to maximize the use of our transmission. We want to have every bit of our transmission fully utilized for renewables. So you'll see us locate our projects around renewable transmission systems. You'll see us locate our renewables around geographic diversity, so if the wind is not blowing in the Pacific Northwest, it may be blowing in the Tehachapi's. So we get some reliability benefit of spreading our wind out. We get reliability benefit of spreading our solar out. We also get reliability benefit of having a diversified technology portfolio, so we're not relying solely on wind, geothermal, or solar, but it's a combination of all technologies. And this is the map that shows you a little bit of where our renewables are coming from. The items in the light blue boxes, those are renewable projects that are currently coming into our system. And the gold boxes identify those key transmission corridors that we're using. So we have the Pacific DC transmission that we utilize for renewables. We're utilizing the Barren Ridge Inyo transmission line and going through the upgrades of that, especially for wind and solar in that area. And you'll see that we're using our Southern Transmission System, which is the DC that comes out of our IPP plant for our wind farms, Milford Wind 1 and 2, also Pleasant Valley. And then lastly, you'll see our transmission coming from the southwest, the Navajo transmission, Navajo-McCullough line, Marketplace line. That's where we're going to have 500 megawatts of new solar coming into our system. And so for the policy, and I don't know if you want to take over on the policy elements or not.
Sure.
Okay.
Randy Howard, Power System Planning and Development. So part of the policy elements, and you've heard those from Mike as he's kind of gone through it. So we're just trying to bring together the updates necessary to be compliant with the California Energy Commission. We need to do that before the end of the year to get some of the benefits that we have. And we bring to you monthly, you receive an RPS report, and it demonstrates to you the progress of our activities. That's a criteria as well for the California Energy Commission. We have to demonstrate continued progress to meet the 33%. We have to file a report to them as well, telling them that we're meeting those obligations. So we are recommending the establishment of the mechanisms to improve the renewable energy resources procurement plan within the policy. And we're also, there's one thing that we were supposed to change, and Mike, why don't you cover that, because I'm drawing a blank to you.
Okay, so there's really the two elements. The board must approve the procurement plan, and that's going to be the capital budget and the expense budget and the fuel and purchase power budget. And the board must review the regular reports which we provide on a monthly basis to ensure that we are making reasonable progress. And so for years we've been producing that monthly report, we've been answering questions, and it's to ensure to you that we are making progress, that we can demonstrate to the CEC that we're not waiting, we're actually taking actions to move forward. Now, one of the things about today's policy is that we wanted to allow for the possibility that delays could occur if there's some exceptional circumstances. In the last policy, it was memorialized at a very high level that should there be issues related to transmission issues, interconnection issues, costs that were not identified in our rates plan and within our budgets, that there were mechanisms that would allow this board to delay compliance. And so now that we have the regulations, we can put further definition around what those criteria might be that would allow you, under these exceptional circumstances, to modify our compliance targets as we move forward. That also requires approval this year so that we can take advantage of those. And it's really about risk management, so that you have the ability in the future, should things happen, that you can make those modifications that are in the benefit for the City of Los Angeles and our ratepayers. So the adoption of the procurement plan is required, and you will be doing that on an annual basis through the budgets, fuel and purchase power budget, as well as our capital and expense budgets. And let's dive into a little bit on the optional compliance measures so you have a little better feel for what those are. So they consist of the excess procurement, we talked about that, to move from one compliance period to another compliance period. It also delays timely compliance should we have one of these significant mitigating factors that occur, and we would have to come back to this board and explain what those issues are. And you'll have to make certain findings that would allow the delay in the compliance. It also allows for, if we run into cost limitations, which we don't anticipate, but is certainly possible as we put together a rate plan, something changes in the marketplace that would put rate price pressure on our renewables program, you can consider that in making the recommendations for the timely compliance. And then lastly, the portfolio balance, this is the PCC categories. You do have some flexibility, so if you don't quite make it in PCC 1, maybe you can make it in PCC 2, and there's some criteria associated with moving from one bucket to another bucket. And then lastly, the reporting that occurs is that anytime you make a change to the RPS enforcement policy, which is what this is, a new policy requires 30 days notice. We did that last year, or I believe it was 2 years ago. But this is a modification which is required a 10-day notice. That's why this is a special meeting. So we had to give the CEC 10 days notice so that they could post it on their webpage, and then interested stakeholders could participate in this public meeting. So any change, we'll need a 10-day notice. Also, if we're going to deliberate on the procurement plan, again, capital budget, expense budget, and fuel purchase power budget, we will need to go through the normal Brown Act requirements and send that up to the CEC so interested parties can come and participate in that public meeting. And we will continue to do our normal reporting, our power content label reports. We have annual reports that go to the CEC. We'll continue to do reports to you on a regular basis. And staff is very willing to come to you in a workshop type setting to go through details of the integrated resource plan or details related to renewables, and we can have more of a detailed workshop on specific elements of our IRP. And so with that, we will open that up to questions. Sorry, I missed a slide there in my clicker.
It's a very important one. Are there questions or comments by commissioners?
I did have a question. Did Dr. Pickle and the Ratepayers Advocate Office get a hold of this information timely to allow them to submit comments on it?
When was this provided?
Yesterday at about 4 to 5.
Yes, they've had plenty of time. You can comment on that.
Yeah, the staff has let us know that the regulations were in progress. I don't think it came to my attention that the regulations actually were adopted for October 1, so it wasn't until last week I started to download SMUD and other municipal utilities policy statements to execute. So I didn't hear in the last 60 days that this draft was being developed, and we certainly weren't provided an opportunity to comment on the draft, but that was their choice.
Yeah, one clarifying comment. When Dr. Pickle was here, we did have a meeting that talked about all the activities that were coming up in the next 6 months. We did talk about the RPS policy. We also talked about some of the solar projects that we're working on negotiating, as well as the combined cycle power plant. So there was about 4 or 5 items that we kind of gave a heads up back in October. This was one of those.
And also to provide a clarification that the majority of the recommended changes today are related to regulatory requirements or changes that were recently adopted by the state. We're incorporating them. These are not staff-driven, but driven more by those state policies and requirements.
And have you seen this document that we just received, this from the Office of Ratepayer Advocate?
Just prior to the meeting today.
I guess he's going to make a presentation, but do you have any preliminary comments?
Maybe we should
on it?
let him make comments first on that document, and I think both Ron and Aram have a few comments.
Great. Thank you.
I have 2 comments. Just to follow on Commissioner Funderburk's question, and I know this is really difficult. I'm only beginning to understand the challenges. For this meeting, we've received, this has nothing to do with your presentation, we've received supplemental papers by the hour in the course of the last 24 hours on various items, which clearly doesn't give us enough time to digest them. I can understand that the ratepayer advocate would appropriately be very frustrated, and I haven't spoken with him, so I'm just anticipating. But this is a big deal, and they didn't receive it until late yesterday. We need to find a better way. We really do need to find a better way, both for the board and for the ratepayer advocate, to get information in a more timely manner. I'm not criticizing you guys. The reason I am following up Commissioner Funderburk's comment is just that every 5 minutes when I opened my emails starting at 6 o'clock last night, I was getting more information about today's session. And it just doesn't give us the time. And I know, and by the fact that we have 6 inches of papers, I know the burden on the staff. And there's an issue that we've been discussing since before we were sworn in, but we need to figure out a better way to deal with it. I know we have a deadline here. You have to meet the deadline. And I know often there are deadlines. We have to meet the deadlines. But it just doesn't give us, or any interested party, time to do anything other than say, salute and say yes. And that's not a way to run a railroad. So I raise that out of frustration in general, and we need to find a way to fix it. I have a question with regard to RPS, and this is really more of a policy theoretical question. I appreciate and will support your recommendations, and appreciate in particular the compliance considerations and the flexibility it gives us if our backs are to the wall. But one thing I wondered in the course of listening to your presentation is, can't we be doing things to have excess renewable capability so that we exceed our targets by greater numbers, so that there'll be less of a potential need for dealing with shortfall, so that we'll be doing better than the requirements that are out there require us to do. And there's a longer-term discussion having to do with broader policy considerations. Dr. Williams made the important point earlier in one of his presentations about the conflict. We may hear some of this from the ratepayer advocate, the conflict between rates and renewables, which clearly exists. But speaking for myself, I don't want to speak for anybody else, I would like to see us be more aggressive in renewables than we are. I was reading over the course of the last few days of one substantial Texas utility that now has 40% renewables. And I understand I'm beginning to understand some of these challenges, but I'm wondering if we can be spending a little bit of time trying to do better on renewables. And when I see the appropriate considerations that you're providing, what do we do in case we're short, I'd like to be thinking about what do we do to ensure that we're not short and that we have wider flexibility by doing more rather than having to be as concerned as we are about what if we're short. So I just raised that for discussion. It's broader than what we're tasked with doing before December 31st of this year, but I'd be interested in your thoughts about that.
I'll just provide a very quick response. Is that in the master list, which you see on a monthly basis, our target is between 1% to 2% over compliance because we recognize that you can have bad hydro years, bad wind years, bad solar years, and so we are targeting a 1% to 2% margin over compliance. Now the question is really then a policy call from a rates perspective is how much? Is 1% to 2% right? Should it be 2 to 3 or 3 to 4? But right now, at least we do have that 1% to 2% margin we're trying to build in to handle these types of contingencies in anticipation of that. And we know there's a market, and if we end up long, we can help other utilities.
Sometime in the next 60 days, let's talk about a 10% margin. What would that entail?
And we could do a full presentation on RPS and some of the options we have available to us related to transmission, ability to bring renewables home, where that would be located, what those costs would be. We've had some helpful sessions where you've made clear some of the constraints, but these are lingering questions that I have.
Mr. President, I could also just note briefly one of the things that you'll see when we do our next year's integrated resource plan, and this doesn't go specifically to the issue of going higher during this period of time, but we will be evaluating the prospects of going above 33% at different levels and what impact that would have, both in terms of where might the resources come from, what are the system considerations associated with that, and what are the rate considerations, so that you'll be better informed on that as well.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
And I would just take a quick point. I know you recognize the fact that some of the items here are pushed because of regulatory requirements. I really do want to note one thing. It's been a bit perplexing and frustrating, and that is this whole process in dealing with the California Energy Commission, working on their interpretations of the state legislation on RPS compliance, have indeed undertaken a lot of things on their own volition. They've put new and different requirements that were never in the legislation itself, and just finally made those become a part of a regulatory mandate in October. So it was a situation where, kind of similar to the request that you heard when we were talking about the once-through cooling reliability report, that having more time from them to be able to get information together, do the analytics, get the information in a form that we can present to you would be helpful. I also fully recognize in many cases it is not just outside mandates, and it is a matter of us getting on top of our game better, and we're working on trying to pursue all of these issues. I can't think of a time when a utility has had the number of things that we're dealing with at the same time, and I know that sounds like a tired refrain, and I know it puts extra burden on this board, and we will do everything we can to try to get materials to you more quickly in the future. Well,
and I know that the staff's backs were to the wall on this one. I completely understand that. So I appreciate the caveats, and they're appropriate. Does the ratepayer advocate wish to make his statement at this time on this matter? Welcome back, Mr. Pickle.
Thank you. 3 brief points. One of the themes in the standards for the renewable portfolio is when things may be reconsidered because of disproportionate cost. Unfortunately, the term disproportionate cost is not defined very clearly. So the second point is there is one common state standard for the cost of renewables. It's not a standard I like very much, but it is the percentage of the utility's revenue that is being spent to achieve goals. For San Diego Gas and Electric, they're achieving their renewable standards with 5% of the revenue. For PG&E, 8%. For Southern California Edison, 12%. DWP is not required to file the Form 910 with the state, but the best we can in terms of back calculating this, DWP is about 12.5%. So we're more expensive. That doesn't give DWP credit for having substantially lower overall rates than San Diego, for example. But DWP is spending a higher share than the other state utilities, major state utilities. The third point is one of the earlier policies built into the process a requirement for a target of 50% DWP-owned generation versus 50% of purchased. And the chart I've handed out to you summarizes the relative cost of purchased and owned from a number of perspectives, looking back at calendar 2012, looking at the forecast for the next 12 months provided in the ECAF filing, the last energy cost adjustment factor filing, and then in the integrated resource plan, looking ahead 7 years, both at 2014 and 2020. And the premium of owned facilities versus purchased facilities is between 40 and 70% above the cost of purchased. Not this time. Next time we look at the RPS policy, we should revisit that requirement and also take a broad look at how we might be able to achieve our goals more cheaply. Yes, we want to achieve these goals, but I believe there are a couple components that are contributing to disproportionate costs. And I think the way to address this is, as part of the IRP and related processes, we should work with DWP staff to see how we might be able to address these things one way or another.
Sounds like a good suggestion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a comment. First of all, Dr. Pickle, appreciate the comments on that. And I do think it's something that we can work even more closely together on. I would caution anyone from looking generically at, because I think what you, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you've done is taken kind of an all-in weighted cost per megawatt hour or kilowatt hour for DWP-owned renewables versus purchase power for renewables, right?
Yeah, but there's a gimme on the own side in that the energy related to net metering, which is not directly purchased at wholesale, is thrown in that mix, and that helps out the DWP-owned number. So that we tried to do a balanced approach on this. Okay.
I think it would be good for us to work together with you to take a look at recognizing some differences. For example, there's just a fact that some of the things that are owned were done either at smaller scale. A 10 megawatt solar project is going to cost more today anyway, maybe it won't in the future, but today per kilowatt hour delivered than a 200 megawatt power purchase agreement, just by virtue of scale. It's cheaper to do that. Something that was built 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, technologies are getting cheaper and cheaper. Is going to be higher cost than something that's being done today. There's different factors that I think we also need to acknowledge, and this is something I think we would like to work with you on too, in terms of how best to recognize. One of the benefits of renewable energy is if you own the site and you own and have a right to the interconnection, is the fuel, be it wind, particularly the most specific being, be it wind or be it solar, is associated with that site. The wind that blows at that location, the sun that falls on that location, and a place where you interconnect to the system. So that real estate has lifetime permanent value. These plants are typically 20, 25-year-old plants. If we enter into a 20-year power purchase agreement, unless we ultimately have an option to purchase that at some years down the line, which we do have in some of ours, and we'll make decisions. And Dr. Pickle, I assume, will have a lot of discussion with us about, should we or should we not take those options to then buy out that private party who has been selling to us. But if we own that site and put our own facility out there, we can upgrade that technology, we can replace that technology, and the site is ours forever. The fuel, if you will, the wind or the solar that comes into it is still attendant to that site. That interconnection doesn't change. It's just a matter of replacing that technology. And that is kind of a very long-term life cycle factor that we also need to take into consideration. I think it would be good for us to get some interchange on that topic as well.
I'll note that I've worked on projects, hydro projects that were on sites that were 230 years old.
Right, exactly.
Well, obviously, to the extent we can make sure we've got apples-to-apples comparisons, I think that's in everybody's interest. I don't think anybody would think otherwise. So to the extent that you guys can work collaboratively, that would be terrific.
Glad to do that.
Are there other comments, questions on this item? Is there a motion to...
I have 2 speaker cards.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 speaker cards now on item number 2.
Okay, the first speaker is Dr. Tom Williams. Did you still want to speak?
Again, what item are we on?
This
is
is
the
the
special-
renewable portfolio standard.
I put in a card on feed-in tariffs. Is that
No, that's different. That's coming in later.
Okay. General comment regarding the presentation and the absence of information to the public regarding what reports are going to be. First off, the presentation. Could anyone read it? So small that we can't really get a key on it. There's a lot of problems, but we have the ability through the internet, thank God, to address those. Now, why weren't they provided in a timely fashion? Timely fashion. Thank God for Brown Act. I have done very large projects, 1,000-megawatt power plant in Dubai. Schedule is everything. Project management requires that you meet the schedule. Just put a schedule. All reports have to be available 1 week before they're going to be presented, both the presentation slides and the supporting documents. Because how can we really react to a very complicated system? Little things like 10%. 10% of which number? 10% of 33%? Or 10% of this year's edition? So there's a lot of things that are the devils in the detail. And we've had a lot of devils in this particular department. One person from the board once said, "How can I tell my constituents what is happening here if I don't understand it?" It's a very complicated system, highly technical. Differences of units usually goes back to the ratepayer. If the ratepayer's advocate does not have the information beforehand, how can they advocate for anything? So timely presentation, timely circulation. We have the internet now. This is the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is there another card?
Second speaker is Bram Siegel.
Yes, my name is Bram Siegel. I've been involved as a corresponding member of the Northwest Power Conservation Council for many years, and also with the DOE Rebuild America since 1998. I spent all these years involved in distributed generation. Just want to make 4 key points. I know I only have maybe 2 minutes, but some of it's very technical, but I think these are very important key words. For the first issue here, I can always give technical details if it's too fast or too much to digest. And the grid stability. Basically, what they've seen happening is that up in the Columbia River area, there were major issues with grid stability with monitorable power, and especially the wind was showing up at night instead of the daytime, and there was no way to store it. But basically, the grid stability, you have to provide real power to stabilize the frequency and reactive power to stabilize the voltage. And you have to have a response time of 1/10 of a millisecond to 1 millisecond, not 15 to 20 to 50 milliseconds. It's a very major issue. Some universities I'm working with have already dealt with this issue and have solutions to it. That could cause the SCADA systems to malfunction and cause blackouts. So if you're starting to put these huge amounts of 1,200 megawatts all over the system, you have to watch that. The other topic is energy storage. When you do have the energy showing up at night, when you want it during the daytime, the lowest cost of energy has effect of what the number of recharge cycles are. So for example, of the dozens of electrolytes on the energy storage summits that you can attend, summits on my website, the recharge cycles go between, say, 300 for a low technology to 16,000 for a high technology. That means you don't have to replace the electrolyte for those times. You need this energy storage to stabilize your grid, to provide some of the real power when your frequency is off, so your SCADA doesn't crash, which has happened in the Northeast. So basically, there's a whole area of understanding what electrolytes to use and the impact of these electrolytes and environmental. So when you have to put this energy storage system of 1,200 megawatt hours on the grid in the next 7 years, you're going to have very high environmental impact. If you take electrolytes, they're going to have a short electrolyte life of 6,000 charge cycles like you get with lithium iron phosphate versus 16,000 with vanadium sulfate. The third topic would be panel efficiency. If and when you do use solar panels, I found the issue there is in tracking a lot of the military projects I've been involved with. The contractor has to bid, and you get a number of contractors competing with each other, and they have huge upfront costs to own the land, to do a connection study, to show the utility that it's a feasible project, that the substation matches the power being delivered. The substation can cost anywhere between $50,000 to $200,000 or higher, depending on the system cost. And it's a very major cost to the contractors, which minimizes the number of contractors bidding on this large-scale solar system. And one example was Bright Source Energy had $1 billion project going up in Victorville. And now
Could you wrap up your remarks, please?
Okay. So basically, the lowest capital cost versus cost of energy is the issue. And if anyone wants more information on this, my name is Bram Siegel. I can be available at activeharmonicfilters.com.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments or questions on this item? Is there a motion to approve this item? So move. Is there a second? Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's approved, and thank you very much.
So at this point, Commissioner, just as a formality, you should adjourn the 11 o'clock special meeting.
Thank you. We will now adjourn the 11 o'clock special meeting, and we will reconvene the 9 o'clock meeting.